listening listening to caffeine and conversation. And of course, we always discuss love, marriage, and Huntsville. And I believe we're doing season 5, episode 2, Love, Marriage, and Huntsville reunion recap. And we've titled this Seeking Validation. I am just waiting for my buddy to get on.
I am on, and good morning to you, Kay.
Good morning.
Happy Sunday to you.
Happy Sunday. And I was just letting our listeners know that we are going to be recapping Love, Marriage, and Huntsville Part 2 Reunion. And we've titled it Seeking Validation.
Yes, that's the title this morning. Now we're on Instagram Live. Are you able to see me on Instagram?
I don't see you on Instagram. I see that
I
you
sent you
have,
a request.
joined.
Yes.
All right, let's go live with Felicia. Yes, and I am still trying to, I'm going to do a screen share so we can, oh, there you go. Let me put you over here. We got a lot going on.
Yeah, I just turned my mic down.
Maybe I need to do that too. Hi.
Getting a lot of reverb. Hello.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the split.
Instagram.
I'm trying to do the recap. I'm trying to do the split screen on our Zoom.
Okay, but I'm not seeing you on Zoom. I don't see your photo.
No, you don't. So I'm trying to do that. What is it you told me last week I needed to do? I'm sorry.
Go video.
Start my video.
Yes.
There we are. We're doing a lot today. We're really our station, everyone. So
yes. So we're on Zoom, guys. We're on Instagram, and we're also on Wisdom. Do you have our Wisdom podcast going?
Yeah, and I have our Wisdom going as well. Can you hear me on Zoom?
I can hear you well.
Okay, excellent. Because I had to mute the sound so we're not getting that reverb back.
Absolutely.
All right.
So how was your weekend, Kay?
My weekend was good. And of course, sorry, y'all. Technical difficulties here. Of course, as you know, I have a new love in my life. And y'all, ladies, it's the real deal. I know it's the real deal because everything is different. And I wanted us to talk about that too. So, but we'll start about love, marriage, and Huntsville, and then we'll move on to that part of my life because there's some really good things happening, and I just want to share it with other women, other men who may be not sure how to know when it's something real. So that's where we're at. I don't know where to put my.
Well, I want to pause before we get into Love, Marriage, Huntsville, and I have to say this as your friend of 20 plus years. I have never seen you more happier in my life. Jalen and I was coming home from church yesterday, and I think even she heard the happiness in your voice. And I said, "She got a new man, girl. She got a new man."
I sure do, and I don't mind talking about it. One being,
I haven't seen you this happy, Kay. So as your friend, I'm so happy for you to see the happiness, the joy, the smile, and it radiates through your voice.
Yeah, for sure. I tell you why too. I know that I'm not in it by myself, so that's the big difference. And you know when someone challenges you and you're able to speak about things on a deeper level. It's not surface level anymore. So that's the difference.
But and you know me, I hate surface conversations, but
yeah. So this is let's go ahead and bring our people in. Hello everyone, and welcome to another great episode of Caffeine and Conversation.
Yes.
And we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah. And so of course, guys, you know we're talking about Love and Marriage Huntsville reunion part 2. We discussed part 1 on last week. And I did find part 2 to be better than part 1. Hey Mia, good morning.
Good morning. This is real life, y'all. I got a puppy. This is my baby Mia. Yes.
And so I did find part 2 so much more enjoyable than I did part 1.
Same.
and I know we're going to be talking about validation this morning. And as you mentioned this morning, that it seems that all of the cast members have been looking to be validated in some shape, form, or fashion. And so I wanted to start the podcast off talking about a stop talking about Stormy. Because when Stormy spoke on last night, I can see her heart and I could feel her heart,
Yeah.
and it resonated with me because she talked about, coming from the South, her dialect, and I'm from the South, and she talked about her struggle,
Right.
of having to work so hard to get where she is, and people don't see that. And she had to struggle when there was nobody cheering her on. And that resonated with me because I feel like my whole life has been a struggle. I feel like I haven't had cheerleaders from childhood up until adulthood. And I'm not gonna say no cheerleaders because Kate, you have been one of my biggest cheerleaders.
Thank
Uh,
you.
but you know what I'm saying. There's certain things you go through in life where you just have to cheer yourself on. And so, and you get to a certain place in life, and people, they see your glory, but they don't know your story.
Right.
So that's what resonated with me with Stormy, because so much it brought her to tears. Because she's like, I worked hard, I worked my tail off to get where I am.
Yeah.
And most people just want to see the old you, no matter how much you evolve, no matter how far you get in life, no matter how much you evolve and change, they just see the
The
old
old
you.
you.
And that's what Stormy was saying. Hey, I'm a business owner. I got products in Target, Walmart, and y'all still want to see the ghetto Stormy, the Stormy from the hood, and don't see where she is now. So her tears, resonated with me. And I just want to say to our listeners, those who are in the struggle, those who wake up every day being intentional,
Yeah.
trying to be the best version of yourself you can be, don't let nobody distract you or deter you from where you're trying to get. Keep your eye on the prize, keep trying to achieve your goal. And when you get there, to get there, sometimes may have to cheer yourself on, even if you have to go crying, scraping, screaming. Just keep climbing to the top. And I just want to encourage our viewers to do that. Don't let the distractions deter you from your goal.
Right. So, springboarding off of that and how that may show up in everyday life, that we've been having this conversation for 20 plus years for sure, but in
Yeah.
the last couple of weeks we've been talking about this very thing in seeking validation, wherein the real work begins with self. And I think once you show people who you've become, they can't help but then just accept, then, oh, that's just who she used to be.
Yeah.
But because people, they're not readily accepting of who you're becoming, and they like to pick at you to take you back to what's familiar to them, right? And then they can say, oh, see, I'm telling y'all, she hasn't really changed, because here goes that old person that I know. So
Yeah.
I think that has to be in our mindset and our psyche. In If you have to be that change and keep showing people, yeah, I have changed, this is who I am, that old
Yeah.
person that you keep trying to pull me to be, she no longer exists.
Yeah.
So it's never really about the other person, it's really about you. And I
Yeah.
think this new relationship that I am in and where I find myself, we talk about that often. When he shares stories with me and when I share story with him, I am always trying for us to understand what our role was in that relationship and why that person may have felt that way. But in saying that, what was your part in it? Why didn't it work out? What are you hoping to do better in this new relationship so that that old element doesn't show up again? Are we gonna always get it right? No, but at least we're going to be mindful
Yeah.
of, okay, these are my triggers, what brought me there, let's talk about it. And I think
Yeah.
that's one of the gems that I am seeing emerging in this new relationship, is that we do talk about all all aspect of a relationship and what we want this one to look like, so we can both be happy in this space and in this time that we're experiencing. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
And one of the things Stormy showed her growth in, even going to Destiny. having that woman to woman conversation. Hey, we don't have to go through Mel. Mel was your girl. She's my girl now. But, I'm coming to you trying to be Gucci, and she, extended, an apology to her. They had a conversation like two grown women should to show, hey, I'm not that ghetto Stormy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go off what Mel said, even though that's my girl. I'm going to build my own relationship with you. I'm going to get to know who you are for myself. And that takes maturity.
For
That
sure.
takes growth. And that's the thing that I love about Stormy. So again, last night with her on the show, I just love her rawness and her realness. And that's the thing that I resonated with the most. Also, to move forward from Stormy, something that Marceau said, because they were having a conversation about Miss Wanda and her bringing in Sugar Mama,
Yeah.
But every time Tisha said something, instead of her saying my mom was wrong, point blank, period, it was my mom was wrong, but my
Yeah.
mom was this, but, and it was, and even, Carlos had to say, but why is it the but?
Yeah.
Because
Correct.
when it was Kimmy and Reese's child, it was no buts.
Yeah.
But now we want to get all of the buts. But my mom was going tit for toe with Mel, but, and it was really no excuse. But one of the things that Marceau said, another thing that resonated with me, and I know Mel is your girl, but he said, yeah, you want everybody on the show to be accountable, but when it comes to Mel and her actions, she's never held accountable. And he said not one cast member can say when she does something wrong, does she get on and say, you know what, my bad, I
Yeah.
was wrong for that. Yeah, you had to approach Miss Wanda about your child, but did you have to do it at Destiny's store? Could you not have said, hey, you know what, that was the wrong place in the wrong time? Or certain things she have done to Martell, they all on a group trip, and she pop off on Martell and just mess up the whole trip. Never once did she say, you know what, my bad. So I like that Marceau pointed that out, because I felt that, even in the midst of Mel's hurt and pain, and we all know she's been hurt, by Martell, but some things is still no excuse from even in your pain. And sometimes you do have to say, my bad, I was wrong. And even though you're the star of the show, it's still okay to be accountable for your actions.
Yeah.
Yeah, hold us accountable, but let's hold Mel accountable too.
I think because Mel herself has had to fight so much that I don't think she goes seeking validation from others. Um, Being held accountable, okay, but she also don't need it. Is I think is her perspective. Whatever
Mhm.
it is, whatever it's gonna be, it's gonna be. So
Yeah, I think we all should be held accountable for our actions. And it's okay to just say, I was wrong. I was wrong in doing this outside of Destiny's Grand Open. I was wrong for messing up some of the group trips that we went on because I wanted to be petty with my husband, because I am coming from a place. And not only just say, okay, when you're being held accountable, sometimes just telling people why.
mm-hmm.
Hey, I know I messed up the group trip by popping off on Martell, but y'all have to understand I'm still coming from a place of hurt and pain, because I'm still hurt, because this is my kid's father. This is the man that's been in my life for 14 years. And so because I allowed my pain to mess up the whole trip. So I think she should still be held accountable for her actions. I know her and Carlos have a close relationship where he don't hold her as accountable as he do the others.
Right.
But I think
Well,
Marceau was correct.
I
Yeah.
think he attempted last night to discuss that, and he said that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
He
He
asks
did.
everyone the same sort of questions and try to hold their feet to the fire.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess when you're not in that space of owning your stuff,
Mm-hmm.
then it comes off of you not being a much caring person. So,
Yeah.
but again, I really like us to keep it what our perspective, and I think we're gonna do that this morning, and how that shows up in everyday life.
Yeah.
You know.
Something else that stood out to me was Tisha's cousin. Even though she's been the backstabber on the show, and betraying her cousin,
Or portrayed as such.
last night she came across as genuine to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, I just felt like my cousin betrayed me, and this is why I did what I did.
Yeah.
And I think she was very careful about her words, because she'd been just popping off at the mouth. I think she calmed down and she was able to articulate the place of how she felt like she had been betrayed, and to still say that at the end of the day, I love my cousin. It was my cousin who was there for me. It was my cousin who took me to rehab.
Mm-hmm.
And just having an honest conversation like, hey, I messed up. Yeah, I went and said these things about Tish, but, I was coming from a place. And that's what I would like to see Mel to do. She said, I was coming from a place of pain that I felt like they portrayed me of telling people that I was addicted, to drugs.
Right.
And so I just like realness last night. Like I said, part two was so much better for
I'm just
me.
getting so much feedback, trying to move things around and see if I can get a better sound.
Yeah. Yeah, but part two was better because I saw the realness in her. Even Miss Mwanda was sort of laid back and chill, and she did her little apology to Mel, but I think it have sort of sauteed that she messed up, and I think her apology was genuine when she said, "Hey, I apologize. I was really trying to get at Mel and not at Sugar Mama." So everybody just came real and raw last night. Maurice said that with what has gone on with Kimmy and her cancer, and this is what really rung to me last night, Kay. We are here on this stage with all of this pettiness,
Mm-hmm.
and tomorrow is not even promised to us. Some
Right.
of this stuff that's going on, we should forgive and let it go. And just the fact that Kimmy was diagnosed with cancer, he thought would have sort of changed the mindset of the cast. Like, hey, tomorrow's not promised. It could be us with cancer tomorrow.
Yeah.
And here we are bickering over pettiness that we should just leave back in 2022. And so,
Okay.
and I think that's for us today. We always try to bring reality to real life. And I think in 2023, if we get past love, marriage, Huntsville, there's a lot of pettiness going on in our lives, a lot of forgiving that we need to do, and a lot of stuff that we just need to leave back in 2022 and let go.
Yeah.
And I'm sure our listeners can, agree with that.
Yeah, for sure. So what else? How was your week? I didn't even ask you about your week.
My week was
I know you're
good.
back at work.
Yeah, we're back at work, full swing again. I actually start school on tomorrow. I'm excited. This is my last trimester, y'all.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I will be hooded on April the 28th. And so I'm excited about that. So I didn't do a lot this weekend. Of course, went to church on yesterday, Jalen and I. And but overall I had a good weekend.
Okay. I think we're gonna log off of Instagram Live because it's like really terrible feedback. But we
Okay.
can we're gonna work something out and come back again around. Yeah.
Okay.
That was just it was terrible. We'll
Oh,
figure
you're
something out.
still on. You're still on live.
I am.
Yeah.
Let me see. Yeah, I'll share that.
You're
All
still
right.
on.
No, it
Let me
says
see. Wait a minute. Okay, it's ending now.
yeah, it's ended.
Okay. And so yeah, I think the takeaway is for this season is, to be accountable for your actions. In 2023, we don't need to be, I'm like Mel, let's not look for validation for anybody. Let's just keep trying to be the best version of ourselves. Because validation from people is just fake validation anyway. We spend so many
Exactly.
hours of our days trying to get validation from people who don't even really care anything about us.
I completely agree with that. And sometimes it's not even the information that you really need to support you, right? So I'm just hoping as we all learn and grow, we can just be better selves and be better for our community and just do what's right, whatever whatever right looks like to you. And it should be about uplifting others, uplifting yourself, your community, and just aim to be just a better, decent human.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely. And also knowing if you want different, you have to do different and be
you
different.
you do, and
Doing the
that's
same thing over and over is stupidity, or some people call it mental retardation. If you're
it
doing things
sure
over
is.
and you're looking for a different result, you're not going to get a different result.
Yeah.
If you keep doing the same things, you're going to get the same result. So if we can just apply that to our lives, to our jobs, to our relationships, if you want to,
and that's
have
been
different.
and that has definitely been the journey that I've been on for the last couple of years. I've told my new man in my life that I've just been on a journey with myself to I've been praying about a new relationship, and I also prayed what this relationship would look like. So when I had a boyfriend that we started dating back in 2016, I was different then, and I asked for the relationship that I thought I wanted, that I wanted to be able to be upfront and honest of the things that I was expecting or would like to see in a relationship. Needless to say, that relationship did not work out well. And then I realized that I needed to be more specific in what I was looking for. And one of the things that most people, most of us, have an issue with being when we're in a relationship is that vulnerability aspect. And I knew I had to work on myself with the vulnerability part, because you've been, especially as a Black woman, we've been so programmed to be strong even in the midst of adversity. Even when you don't want to be strong, you have to be strong, not to show weakness, not to cry, not to be emotional. And especially all the negative connotations that comes with it, being a Black woman, is that you're the angry Black woman, which is not the case. It's just that you have been hurt and been taken advantage of for so long. So I knew when that next relationship showed up, the things that I wanted and the way I needed to be. So when I was introduced to Kevin, exactly 4 weeks today, I led with our first conversation. I'm sure you probably thought, this crazy woman. I led with all my trauma, all the hangups that I had. So, and I said, this is me, naked and raw. These are the things that bother me. These are the things that have been done to me, which makes me who I am today, in this moment as I speak to you. If it's something that you can handle, great. We can see where this go. If it's not, then I have a friend. Great to know you. And that did not push him away. And we've been on this journey together in discovering each other. And I'm telling you, ladies and men, what a difference it is. One, for a man not to be afraid of your hurt and your pain and wanting to understand you as a person, right? And then as it's freed me up that now I've told him, listen, I've told you the worst about me. So when you come to my house, you can open any drawer, open any envelope, because I no longer have anything to hide. Mm-hmm. And as well as whatever tools that I want to use to get to know him better, he's all for it. And I have never had that before. We're not talking about what's your favorite color, what's your favorite meal. We are talking about deep, deep things. I'm 55, he's 42. So we are both coming into this with life experiences, relationships that we've had. And I must say, there is not a relationship that he's been in that he has not told me about. So there is no one that can tell me about him, even though it's been 4 weeks. And it's just been refreshing. It's the real deal. And I ain't afraid to say it. I'm in love, y'all. I sure am. I sure am. And I'm ready. I was married once. I've been divorced. Next month will be 13 years. And I have never wanted to get married. And he's changed my mind.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's
Well,
where I am.
again,
I'm walking around here nose wide open. Okay. I am all in for this man.
but it's good to have that openness, because it's good. I'm just happy to see you happy.
And I
But
am.
sometimes you're giving our listeners the chance to see, let's just be open for love.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you get hurt, you still haven't lost anything, because you have gained a lesson. You have learned a
Yeah.
lesson.
For sure.
And so, in that, you can take that lesson on into the next relationship. But just, you have to be open. You have to take
You've
your
got to
walls
be
down.
open. And what I have learned most, you have to call yourself on your own BS. That's the most important thing that I've learned, and I've talked to him about it. One, you have to become self-aware. You have to be reflective. Why did that relationship not work out? What did I do that I could do better? It's no longer about if your goal is to have a deep, meaningful relationship, it is no longer about that person. And you, again, one of our words that we like to talk about, which is accountability. You have to own your stuff and be accountable for the way you showed up in that relationship. And then ask yourself, what could I have done better, and how or what can I do differently for the next relationship? My friend is always pushing me out there to go and date and to just go on dates and meet people. And I'm always the one pushing back. I've been in Houston 14 years and I've only had one relationship. That should give you insight on the kind of person that I am. I don't jump around because I don't want to keep repeating the same mistakes. I always take long periods to figure out my own ish. And Lord knows we all have some. We all have trauma that we need to get past. We all got the trunks that we're tugging with us in life. And over the last couple of years, I really just started to unpack all of that. Whoever did me wrong in childhood, I forgave them. I talk about it, and I find that's the real thing that we have to do. We have to talk about things that bother us. We can't bottle it up. We have to talk about our trauma, how people mistreat us, so we don't inflict that pain on other people when they show up in our life. So this has probably been like the easiest relationship I've ever been in. I'm not figuring out where he is or what he's doing. Why? Because he tells me. And he tell me, whatever you're doing, if you need to call me, call me. When we first started talking 4 weeks ago, he said to me, you can call me. He said, it's just about between the hours of like 2 and 3 p.m. You may not be able to call me, but if you leave me a message, I'll call you right back. Fellas, that's the kind of security that women are looking for. Don't let them have to guess. And you know, we've talked about a couple of his relationships and the things that he's done. And I've said, why did you do that? Because as a woman, I'm going to tell you that doesn't feel good. And he's like, I can see that. And I said, but why would you want to do that? She's already insecure. That's why she did the thing that we're talking about. And you just added to her insecurity. I'm like,
and
why
the
would
thing that bothers me when I see men do that is, if somebody's insecure and they're with you, you have to ask yourself, why do they feel that way? What am I doing? Now, I'm not saying this all the time to men, because sometimes, you know, we as women, we just allow our cuckoo crazy to come out, and we don't know how to calm our crazy. But if you are a male, you have to say, if my woman is insecure, what can I do to make her feel more secure and not add to her insecurity? So I like that Kevin did that. And another thing that you said is dealing with childhood trauma. And if we're honest with ourselves, a lot of time we bring our trauma to our present relationships, and it shows up. And it may not show up as it may show up as people pleasing. That's a sign that you have had childhood trauma, because you're trying to please everybody, because you couldn't do that in childhood. Your trauma probably came from, you know, you felt like that person you couldn't please, so you do this over people pleasing thing. And that's or you are seeking and begging for their validation. That's another way the childhood trauma come up. When you're lashing out all the time, you always find yourself lashing out at people. That's a sign of childhood trauma.
Angry for no
reason.
The
thing that we do in 2023, y'all, we have got to normalize going to counseling.
For sure.
You know, let's just not keep showing up broken. Let's
and stop talking to people who are just as broken as you. Okay. Talk to people who have some sense, people. Okay. Talk to people who are generally interested in you. Because let's be honest, not everyone can afford counseling, but there are definitely things that you could, whether it's buy a book or watch these shows that has someone giving out advice to help you. But first you have to admit, you know what? My shit stink. I need to unpack my stuff. And I told him from the beginning, I said, I can be incredibly moody. One, I've lived by myself for most of my adult life. That's one thing. So I don't really have to answer to anyone. If I don't want to answer my phone, I don't answer my phone. If I need a few minutes and someone calls, I'm like, I need a minute. I need a day. I'll drive home in silence from work. You know, where some people, you know, back in my early days, I'd probably get on the phone and talk all the way home. But now I realize how important it is to even just reflect on your day, you know, process your day. Even we've already had like a 4-week conversation, because we'll talk about something and then it may come back a couple days later and like, let's talk about this some more.
And for
And
our
he does,
listeners, just so y'all know, because some of the statements she's saying may not add up, but it's a long distance relationship, so it'll
yes,
make more sense what she's saying. Go ahead.
yes,
I didn't mean to
he
cut
lives,
you off.
he live, and that's fine. He lives in England, and one of the things being is that his mom is currently in the hospital, and we're nurses, so I understand that when the topic of death come up, we get there quicker in with the way we can assess what's going on based on age and illnesses, whether it's chronic or acute. And I'm talking to him like, have you talked about this with your mom? And he was, as we were talking about it, he was like, can we change the topic? And I said, yeah, we can change the topic. And then I had a second where I'm like, no, we're not doing that. We are not going to suppress our feelings, and we're not just going to brush over our feelings. That's something that I talked to him about, that in childhood, especially in the Black community, we're so used to beating out those emotions out of our children that when we grow up, we don't know how to handle these emotions because we were never able to or encouraged to express how we're feeling.
Yeah.
You
And when
know,
you
how can
express
you
your emotions, you just become a ticking time bomb too. Because when you
exactly,
keep suppressing, you're gonna explode. Yeah.
you get beating growing up, and then you're told, shut up your mouth, don't, what you're crying for, I'm giving you something to cry for, you hit me, and then I'm not supposed to cry, I'm supposed to just toughen up and take it. you know no more. Now we have to talk about these things, and I'm not saying you're going to hate your parents, but you're like, this is how it's showing up now, what you did, because I don't express myself.
Mm-hmm.
I walk into a room and people want to hear what I say, but you're afraid to say it because you weren't encouraged to speak your mind growing up. So
Mm-hmm.
that's my take. And I am
Yeah.
more than happy to take our listeners and our followers on my journey. I'm excited, and
Well,
it's
I
should be,
told her to write a book called Love After 50. And so
yeah,
as we end this Love and Marriage Huntsville reunion, we are going to start going into deeper conversations
yeah,
and showing you what love does look like after 50. We're going to talk
yeah.
about childhood trauma. We're going to
Not
talk
just
about
after 50, but what a healthy
what
love
healthy
looks like.
relationships look like.
and,
Yeah.
and when
Yeah.
two people are in it. In fact, we're
Yeah.
one of the tools we're using is this book called Questions for Couples Journal, and it has over 400 questions, and we started using it last night. So we're just going to take 2 questions each day that we speak and go deeper, and those 2 questions led us on a 45-minute conversation. And
Yeah.
that's what you're looking for. You don't want to
Yeah.
know your partner on a surface level. And I told him, I said, I can't wait to when
Yeah.
I'm
I say that all the time.
one of those
Yeah.
people at work that they're talking. I'm like, well, let me just call my husband and he'll bring it for us. No worries. I've never
Yeah.
had that, and he
Yeah.
wants to be that for me. I was like,
Yeah.
yes, Daddy, you can.
Yeah.
I told him the application is still under review. He said, well, you can tear up that application because I'm in. You're my woman, and that's it. I'm like, okay, Zaddy. All right, Zaddy.
So
I'm like,
on that note, can y'all tell she's in love? Can y'all tell
I'm in
listeners
love,
that she's
y'all,
in
and
love?
I ain't afraid to say it because I'm not the only one in love. He's right
And
there
so
with me.
listeners, we're going to talk about what healthy relationships look like. We're going to talk about what men need, what women need, and we're
Yeah,
not going to get the needs and wants mixed up. We're going to talk about the resources that Karen and I uses. Like she said, one of that book that she's using now. We're going to talk about how that worked out for her and Kevin, and and as you see in Love, Marriage, in Huntsville, some of the things that they go through, like Tisha and Marcel, some of this stuff is surface,
yeah,
because they have surface conversations. They don't get down to the meat of the problem, to the root of the problem. And so we're going to talk about that
yeah,
in our conversations coming up. And I know Kay is excited to tell you and take you along on her journey. I'm also going to be sharing my wisdom and experience and things I have learned, because of course I have been in a relationship. Actually, I've been telling people 25 years, but February the 1st, Cobbs and I would have been together 26 years and married 21 years. So in 21 years, I've did some things, I've learned some things, he did some things, he learned some things. And so I'm going to even show you what that looks like.
yeah.
And to get to the other side, like Kay said,
Work.
it takes accountability.
Yeah.
It takes self-reflection, like what am I doing? What am I bringing to the table?
And
Because
it takes
you have to
selflessness.
assess. As nurses, one of the things we do as nurses, The
Yeah.
first thing they teach us to do is we have to assess the situation. And
Yeah.
that applies to relationships. You have to assess. And then once we assess, we say, okay, this is what the problem is. And then once we find out what the problem, we start planning our interventions of how we're going to solve the problem.
Correct.
So then you implement those interventions and then you come back and evaluate and you see, did it work? And so we're going to show you how to apply basically the nursing process to your own personal life.
Yeah.
And so, and that way you have a more deeper and meaningful relationship. So I'm excited of the topics we're going to talk about in 2023. I'm excited for my friend and her new love. He's actually, guys, agreed to come on.
Yes.
And so I can't wait to have him on. I'm going to have my
let me just say this to our fans. He is down with the shits and giggles, okay? He's all about it. Whatever I want to do, he down with it. He already know I ain't wrapped too tight. And he's all about it. He's all about me and whatever I have going on. So I'm excited for y'all to get to know him.
And it's nothing like having a man that's all about you.
Yeah, he's all in.
Speak on it.
And that was week one. That was week one. He said, "This is it for me." He said, "I don't know about you, but this is it." I'm like, ladies, it exists. It exists. You just gotta use your tools and just be ready and open and unpack the bags and leave them at the roadside and just go light. What did Erykah Badu say? Pack lightly.
Okay.
Let's go.
And so on that note, in 2023, K-Fiend fans, we are not seeking validations. Yeah. We are going to be accountable. Yes. We're going to be real and we're going to be raw this year. And I'm just looking forward to what the new year brings. And so if you have any feedback on the Love, Marriage, and Huntsville reunion that we did not address, please leave it in the comments below. We want to see your comments. We want to conversate back and forth with you. And we will be talking about part 3 on next week. It seemed like it's going to go up a level. Just looking at the recap from last night, that even had Carlos King crying. So I'm waiting for part 3, K.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, K-Fiend fans, thank you for tuning in again with us this week. I truly enjoyed it. And we're going to bring you great content. And we're thinking about switching platforms, but if and when we do, we'll definitely be back to let you all know where you can find us on a more permanent basis. We're just trying to find something that's more user-friendly and packed with other tools and platforms that we can reach more people. And on that note,
tell somebody to tune into K-Fiend Conversation.
Okay,
yes,
about
next
this conversation.
Sunday.
I'm Kay.
I'm Fee.
And you're listening to K-Fiend and Conversations. Join us next week.
Y'all have
for
a good
another
Sunday.
episode.